if you could even try to count them, you can't. V'yomer lo, and Hashem said to him, Ko yeh zarecha, so will be your children. So there was a promise here of children. V'hemin b'Hashem v'yachshavel lo tzedakah. And this is, by the way, also not just the first time Eliezer is mentioned, the first time the whole concept of emunah is mentioned. V'hemin b'Hashem, he believed Hashem when he said this. This doesn't seem like such a big chiddush for Avraham Avinu. Et emunah on Hashem. V'yachshavel lo tzedakah, and Hashem gave him credit for this. And then he said, Vayomer Elov Ani Hashem. Hashem spoke further, and he said, Ani Hashem Asher Tzesicha Me'ur Kastim. I'm with you this whole time. Lech Lecha. Lo Seis Lecha. The purpose of this whole journey is Lo Seis Lecha. So Eretz Hazois the Rishta is to give you this land. So first he promised him children, and now he's telling him, I'm going to give you the land of Eretz Yisrael. Vayomer Ana this. Vayomer, Avraham Avinu said, Hashem Elokim b'ma eda ki yirashena. How do I know this? Give me a proof, give me a sign. That's interesting. When it came to the children, okay, v'hemin b'Hashem v'yachshavel stuff. I believe you, and that was considered good. You got good credit for that. When it came to the land, I don't know. B'ma eda, how can I possibly know that this is true? And then comes the psukim of the whole brisbane absarim, which maybe we'll go into next week. Hashem shows him how it's going to be. Fascinating piece of the Torah, but very ununderstood. But I want to focus on something else right now. Because of this Bama Eidah, let's just say this. Suffice it to say, because he questioned Hashem, there was a punishment. Not to Avraham Avinu, but to us. For 400 years, it says in the Chumash, you're going to have to go down to Mitzrayim. Not only that, the Gemara learns that all of these different things that he saw and that he did was the Babylonian Empire and the Greek Empire and the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire. This was his mareh. It all came from Bama Eidah. How do I know? Avraham Avinu brought Golus into this world. So here he was saying, I'm afraid. Hashem says, don't be afraid. I'll give you children, and I'll give you Eretz Yisrael. How do I know? Why did he question the land more than he questioned the children? How do I know? How do you know? You just made big sorrows for the Jewish people. Interesting. Okay, so what I really want to know right now is a couple of things. Number one is, what is this whole conversation about between Hashem and Avram? I can show you that there was 3 times already that Hashem told Avraham Avinu, I'm going to give you children and I'm going to give you the land. This was not like a unique conversation. Over and over and over again. If you took a look, I wrote down the sources here. If you look at the very beginning of Lech Lecha, first of all, Parak Yud Beis, Vayomer Hashem l'Avram, Lech Lecha me'aretzecha v'la'atzcha me'beis avicha, ve'ez chol l'goy gadol, v'avarechecha, v'agadol shmecha v'ayeh bracha. He tells him very, very clearly that you're going to have children. If you go a little bit further, Pasuk Zayin. Vayera Hashem el Avram, vayomer l'zaracho etenes haaretz hazois. Parak Yud Beis Pasuk Zayin. L'zaracho, to your children will I give this land. Vayiven Shem Yizbeach LaHashem. After Lot, go another few looking further. After Lot separated from Avraham Avinu, he parayed Namay Elai. So the Rashi tells us it was at that moment that he was able to have Gilui Shechina, and Hashem was able to speak with him. So what did he tell him? Told him exactly. He told, if you please go to Parak Yud Gimel, Pasuk Yud Daled. Vashem Omar al Avram. Hashem spoke to Avram. Acharei he pared Lot me'imai, after Lot left him and went to the Kikar HaYarden. Sana einecha, he told Avraham Avinu, pick up your eyes, ure'ei, and look, min ha'mokim asher atasham, from the place you're standing, you could see Safona, v'negba, v'kedma, v'yama, you'll be able to see the whole Eretz Yisrael. Because I will give you this land, everything you can see, to you and to your children. So 3 times he told them, you're going to have children and you're going to have a land to put your children in. There's going to be an Eretz Yisrael. And here, Hashem tells it to him again. This is the 4th time. Behemin b'Hashem. And he believed in Hashem that he's going to have children. He believed it before too. What was the chiddush here? Before he said, just look at it with some scholarship here. Let's compare. Before in chapter Yud Gimel Pasuk Tes Zayin, he said to him, I'm going to give you the whole land and I'm going to give it to your children. V'samti esaracha ka'afar ha'aretz. And I will make your children like the earth, like the dust of the earth. Can anybody count the Afar Haaretz? That same person can count the Jews. That's how many children you're going to have. So almost the same idea. Another place he told them, you're going to have children kechol hayam, like the sand on the ocean. It's a little bit different than the Afar Haaretz. Here he tells them it's going to be kekoch ve'eshamayim. So we found 3 uncountable phenomena. Like we have the sand, the dust, the stars. Same thing, same idea. So what was the chiddush here that Avraham Avinu heard from Hashem? And he says, but okay, I believe you. I'm with you on the kids. I can't get my mind around the land, but I'm going to get the land. He promised them kids. He promised them land. What was the chiddush? What was the chiddush?
Rabbi.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he has just conquered the land. The land was one thing he should have been more sure of than the child.
Yeah, and on this he says, B'ma'eda. He already had the land. It's an amazing... So here's the 2 things we want to know. What was the additional promise here? And what was this obsession with Eliezer? That's really what I want to focus on. Last week we talked about Lot. Let's speak about Eliezer. 2 unknown people. Who was Eliezer? Who was he? Eliezer Eved Avraham. Eliezer, the Gemara tells us, figures out that Eliezer, anybody know who was his father? Nimrod. A very humble woman to say everything under your breath. I can't even see this name. But somebody here knew that it was Nimrod. Nimrod was this is so interesting because Avraham Avinu was thrown into a furnace by Nimrod. And then Nimrod was the one who led the war. Remember, he was called Amraphel. He changed his name, Rashi says, for the purpose of war. He was General Amraphel. It was King Nimrod, Amraphel. Amraphel means, as Rashi, Omar Poel. He told Avraham Avinu, go into the fire. And now he comes to Eretz Yisrael to be Kodesh Eretz Yisrael because Nimrod, the Gemara says, was Malach Bekipa. He was the king of the world. There was no stronger leader than Nimrod. He comes and who keeps him out of Eretz Yisrael? Avraham Avinu. This is, by the way, not so strange to us because we who lived through the 48 war, not that I was there, but we read enough about the 48 war, the 67 war, I was there. We see that we have this koach of kipsa achas ben shivim zevim. We see we have this koach to keep the whole world. How many gazillion Arabs are there out there that are out to get us? Baruch Hashem, we have this. This comes from Avraham Avinu. So this is not such a kasha that Avraham Avinu was able to pull everything, push everybody away. But what's interesting about it is that who was he fighting with? He was fighting with Nimrod. And who was the main person who was fighting with Nimrod? Eliezer, Eved Avraham. Eliezer is the 318, which is why the Torah calls it the 318. So either he was one of the 318, or according to Reish Lakish, he was the 318. Eliezer Gematria 318. The Torah says before, 318 Chanichim went with him. So first of all, it was such a close talmud of Avraham Avinu, but this was a war between a father and a son. that was motivated by Avraham Avinu. So this was almost Avraham Avinu's revenge, if you will, on Nimrod, pushing Nimrod out of Eretz Yisrael. Look, you want to run the world? You threw me out of Bavel, I'm throwing you out of Eretz Yisrael. You're not coming into Eretz Yisrael. So it's amazing to picture. So when we think about who Eliezer, this man starts to get some character here. And he was no Ebed. If he was the son of Nimrod, he was no Ebed. He was a very chashuv person. He was a Weltzmensch. He wasn't a Ebed. You think about an Ebed, you're thinking about some guy with a thing around his neck or a ball around his foot, and he's walking around with Avraham Avinu bringing him coffee and tea. That's not what was going on. Eliezer, Ebed Avram, was Eliezer ben Nimrod. Some say, according to the Gemara, that he was the second Og Melech HaBashan. And the pshat is that the reason why Og Melech HaBashan appears everywhere, just parenthetically, is because just like there were Paros in Mitzrayim, there was Ogs in Bashan. The king of Bashan was always called Og. So Og Melech HaBashan is everywhere for generations, not because he lived 1,000 years, because they were all called Og. They were all called Og. So just a little piece of information, trivia, Bible trivia, Og Melech HaBashan. Some say he was an Og Melech HaBashan, like he was a pharaoh. But he was so taken, apparently, with Avraham Avinu that he became his Ebed. I'll work for you. That's what it means. I will work for you. In other words, politically, he joined the Avraham Avinu campaign and crusade, if you will, to take over Eretz Yisrael and to start a monotheistic religion, and most important, to do the tikkun. I'm with you on this. Avraham Avinu said this, Eliezer. I'm with you on that the world has to come to a place of where it was supposed to be, and it was before Adam Harishon did his chat. Let's get it back to where it's going. I'm with you on this. I'll fight my father. And if you look, by the way, here, the Targum Yonasim and Azil, it says right here on the spot that it was Ben Amraphel, or Ben Nimrod. So it comes out another interesting point. Let's take it a little bit deeper. So let's push it a little bit more. Eliezer was the son of Nimrod, and Nimrod, let's say if you go all the way back, you have Noah came out of the Teva. He had three sons, which were Shem and Ham and Yafes. Avraham Avinu's great-grandfather was who? Shem. Right. So when he went to Malki Tzedek Melech Sholem, and Rashi says, Zu Shem ben Noach, so that means it was his grandfather. In other words, he was a descendant of the Shem.
Sorry, who was? I lost track.
Avraham Avinu. He was a Semite.
Right.
A Semite. Shemite. Where did Nimrod come from? So where did he come from? So he was from Ham. So Nimrod, if you remember when we were learning Noach together, so it says that the three sons came out of the Teva, Shem and Ham. What does it say about Ham? It gives him a title. Dr. Ham, what was his name? Ham,
Father.
Avi Canaan. Avi Canaan. But he was called the Avi Canaan. Who was Canaan? We learned a lot about Canaan. Ham Avi Canaan. Canaan wasn't even born yet, but Noah cursed him. Arur Canaan. He cursed Canaan. Who was Canaan? Nimrod. Nimrod was the first Canaan. I'm not just saying a medrash. If you look at the way the generations line up, just follow the genealogy of it, you'll see that Nimrod was a direct descendant of Canaan, who was of course the son of Ham, who was the son of Noach. So there was another line from Noach going on with Nimrod. Comes out Eliezer and Avraham Avinu were first cousins 6 times removed. And he was in other words, his great-great-grandfather was Shem, and his great-great-grandfather was Canaan and Ham Avi Canaan, and they were brothers. So here you have Avram having the Shem line and Eliezer having the Ham line, or let's put it this way, that Avram Avinu had the Baruch line because he got a bracha from Noach. Shem got a bracha from Noach. And on the other hand, Canaan was Arur Canaan, so Eliezer Eved Avram was Arur. I'm sorry to skip back and forth in the Chumash, but we're going to learn in a minute just want to bring this out now while it's here, that Eliezer, Eved Avraham, had a thought that maybe my daughter can marry Yitzchak. Remember this, right? And what did Avraham Avinu say? Sorry, it's not going to happen. Why not? Ein orur medavek bebaruch. You're an orur and I'm a baruch. Why is he an orur, the poor guy? He gave up his life for Avraham Avinu. He was a tzaddik, by the way. Eliezer was a tzaddik. Clearly a tzaddik. And Avraham Avinu trusted him with everything. He trusted him with, to lead his wars, and to take him to the Akedah, and to find a shidduch for Yitzchak. The whole progeny of the Jewish people is in the hands of this Eliezer. He said, no, listen, you can't make a shidduch with you because ein orur medavek bebaruch. You're an orur. Why is he an orur? He's an orur because Noah cursed him. Noah cursed him and he said, orur Canaan. That's why he's an orur.
What is orur?
Cursed. He was an orur, but ein orur and somebody who's cursed, medavek doesn't marry somebody who's baruch. Like, it's a difficult chazal to understand with, but just a little insight into it is that he was talking history here, obviously. Avraham Avinu was speaking to history. You're not an appropriate shidduch. You're from Chum. You're from Canaan. You're not an appropriate shidduch. I'm from Shem. We can't get married. Intermarriage. It can't work. Why can't it work? What would happen already? First of all, given. The answer is that Avraham Avinu understood that a tikkun has to take place here. And the tikkun has to be not through Canaan, because Noah said we could have had a tikkun when we came out of this teva. But Avi Canaan, did an Aveira of Gilui Arayis. And since he did an Aveira of Gilui Arayis, you're holding back the Mashiach. You're holding back the tikkun. We could have had it. This was just, the world was empty. We could have started fresh, a fresh campus. Everything would have been okay. And immediately we came out of the teva and you messed up. So Arur Canaan. So comes Avraham Avinu, and my job, later on, I'm talking later on in the Torah, my job, Yitzchak's job, my son Yitzchak's job, is to help bring this tikkun on. How can I bring a child of Canaan into this? It's going to mess up the whole tikkun of the world. That's the pshat. Ein orur medavek bebaruch.
But did he also say, like, at the end, and if you don't find someone, then yes?
No. Eliezer said, maybe if I don't find somebody, yes, we're going to learn in a second. Yes.
Why can't that be a tikkun? Why can't Dafka now having the hour connected to the blessing? I thought that would be tikkun olam.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to talk about here. How does this tikkun have to happen?
Also, because you said it like the last time. Also, it sort of like comes from. Doesn't sound like
the Ra.
Yeah. So it would sound like a vimatim.
So here's everybody hear the question on the floor. That's what we're supposed to do. I think it was Shimon Peres. Was it Shimon Peres at Oslo, who said, "How can you make peace with Arafat?" So he said, "Well, we're supposed to make peace with my friends." So you're supposed to make peace with your enemies. If Canaan is, boy, I never thought I'd quote him. The shir about Avraham.
Well, he's getting closer to the 90s.
Good part to the good part. Right? If Avraham Avinu has to make a tikkun, who are you going to be masakin if not the arur, not the one that messed up? That's where your tikkun is. So this one is a tzaddik. But so let's think about it together. Eliezer here is very important, because the question, I believe, in Avraham Avinu's mind, just work with me on this, the question in Avraham Avinu's mind is, what does Hashem have in mind when he says, I'm going to be, it's going to come from me, the tikkun olam, my children, Eretz Yisrael, it's going to come from me. Does he mean It's going to come from me like mamish, mimeyecha yiparedu. It's going to come from your kishkas. It's going to come from you biologically. Or does he mean it's going to come from me philosophically? It's going to come from me from the point of view that this is my student, my closest domestic Eliezer. Chazal say everything that he learned. The word domestic means Damascus, but the pun on the word is that everything that he shadol miraboi moshe lacher. He learned from Avraham Avinu, and he carried this message all around. He was an ambassador. Like, we have to stop thinking of him as a slave. He was an ambassador of Avraham Avinu. He was the #1 ambassador, and Avraham Avinu loved him. And he certainly loved Avraham Avinu, and he trusted him. He did everything with him. And Avraham Avinu wanted to know, who's going to carry on the line? Is it going to be Eliezer Eved Avram, who's my chief disciple, my chief ambassador? Or is it going to be somebody that I'm going to give birth to that we don't even know yet? Is it going to be a Yitzchak? Do you understand this? This is the question of the Chumash. This is the question of Avraham Avinu. I'm building up to it. I just decided to just say it. That's what it is. It's the question. The question of the. It's such a stressful question when you think about it. It's such a. But it's madhim that the question that Avraham Avinu had is, who's going to inherit the land? Who's going to take over? It could so easily be Eliezer. Eliezer ran this whole war. Eliezer is the one who captured Eretz Yisrael. Eliezer believes in me, and he believes in you, said Hashem. So maybe it's Eliezer. And this brought a certain fear onto Avraham Avinu. So right after the War of the Kings, what's the first thing that we learn? Al tira avdi Avram. Don't worry. What was he worried about? Eliezer has become the prime minister. Eliezer has become so he's going to be Ben Meshech Basi, but Anoichi Hailech Hariri. This bothered him, that Anoichi Hailech Hariri, but it's not coming from me. To which Hashem told him, no, he's not, Hu lo yirashecha, he's not going to inherit you, Ella asher yatsa me'meyecha, Hu yirashecha. The one who comes from you is the one who's going to, just what's over here.
Is there a reason why you get the title of Eved, which actually makes him sound like really a very low person?
Right, and to add on to your question, not only does he have a title of Eved, but that's his only, we don't even know his name, except for in this one pasuk, he's only Eved. And this is, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what I think. I think that because of his greatness, because of who he was, it had to become very clear, not only in the Chumash, but in the public relations of Eliezer, Eved Avram Anoichi. That I'm the Eved Avram. I want to show you more about this, so hold on to that question. It's a very good question.
And I just want to say, in the beginning of this share, we said that when Avram said, when Hashem said, don't be afraid, he said, you won't be punished for having killed so many people. So now we're like kind of changing the Perush.
Absolutely. I'm going with the Perush of the Gemara.
And also, can I ask the Rav just to repeat that the Roshei Tevot, the acronym that the Rav gave for domestic?
Dal umashach. Dal means like he took the water out of the well. Umashach. Mashach, like a manal meshach. Like mashach, it was a supplier.
Mashach. Oh.
Dal umashach. Dal umashach. Those are the words.
Dal umashach. Isn't that also the mazal for burning a child? Like the Aquarius, like it's like the sign for it's the general sign. Is it?
The Gemara says, I'm not sure, the Gemara says that there's a tzedek called Damesek, that Jupiter is called Damesek when it makes a certain rotation every 12 years. That's all I know about it. I don't know anything more about it. But the answer is yes. But I'm not sure if it's exactly an astrological sign or it's the house of Jupiter, which has to do with Eliezer. What I want everyone to walk out with tonight, like last week, we learned to like Lot. I want to learn to like Eliezer. Eliezer Lot, Rashi's not nice to Lot. I was nice to Lot. But Eliezer, Rashi likes Eliezer. Every time we can say something good about Eliezer, we say something good about Eliezer. But here's the point. I'm trying not to mix myself up. Here's the point, that if Eliezer Eved Avraham was the alternative to Yitzchak, that's what you see in this passage that we read very quickly. He was the alternative to Yitzchak. It's either Yitzchak, which was an unknown, wasn't born yet, it wasn't even, two very old people, that even in biblical times it was considered miraculous, right? Sarah laughed. Yitzchak, Sarah laughed. It's ridiculous. You could. A woman was. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but a woman was just telling me she had a whole shiloh of something, so she said she had to take a certain medical test. So when she went to the doctor, the nurse, the nurse asked her. She's 84 this one. So the nurse said to her, "Are you pregnant?" Because I'll take this X-ray, this particular thing, X-ray. So she started to laugh. She started to laugh. So it clicked in my mind. Okay, that's pretty funny. Like my age, it was Sarah Bain. I mean, it sounds almost silly. So even at the time of the Chumash, this was a huge miracle. So is it going to be Eliezer? Is it going to be Yitzchak? Now let's add on to this for a second. Eliezer wanted to be the Yitzchak. It didn't work out for him. Why? Because Hashem said Yitzchak is going to be born. Eliezer says, "Aha! I have a second chance." What's the second chance? I have a daughter. Let my daughter marry Yitzchak. Very simple. Let my daughter marry Yitzchak, and again, now we've got everything. Avraham Avinu has Yitzchak. Yitzchak has a son-in-law, Eliezer. So you can't beat him. Join him. I can't be your son because you had a son, but I can be your son-in-law, which is possibly just as good. And you've got not your son-in-law, your mechutton. I could be your mechutton, but in other words, my daughter will be the one who will be Yoresh you. And to this, Avraham Avinu said once again, the first time he says, "Anoichi holech hariri," I'm not asking that you should be the one who's Yoresh me. And when it came to the Shidduch later on, 2 parshas later, he says, "I'm not asking that you should be the one that your daughter should marry my son, because ein or davek baruch." So what you have here is a double try, if you will, with Eliezer trying so hard to get into this family here. And then by the Akedah, let's just talk about the Akedah for a minute. Somebody mentioned, very important. At the end of Vayera, Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak's now 36, 37 years old. He says to Avraham Avinu, "Kach es bincha, yechidcha, asher ahavta," that's Yitzchak, very clear. Take Yitzchak, bring him to the Akedah. Avraham Avinu seems to still be nervous. So he takes with him 2 Na'arim, Rashi tells us, as you said. Eliezer went with him everywhere, and his other son Yishmael. Let's go. We're going to do an Akedah. They went to Har Moriah. Comes the Gemara and it says that as they approached, he didn't know exactly where he was going, right? Lech Lecha al Eretz HaMoriah. He didn't know exactly where he's going, but when he came to the Eretz HaMoriah, which is, here in the area of Beit El, when he comes to Eretz HaMoriah, he sees he sees the unknown kosher al Hahar, Rashi says. Avraham Avinu knows it's the place because he sees the unknown. It was like Yerushalayim. In fact, Rashi says it was Yerushalayim. The Yerushalayim bounced here for these few hours. Yerushalayim actually moved here. Became Yerushalayim expanded. He sees unknown kosher al Hahar. So it looked like maybe a little bit like Har Sinai. It looked like the Har Abayis. But he saw the Shechina on the mountain. So it says the Gemara that Avraham Avinu, he's here with 3 people. He's here with Yitzchak, he's here with Yishmael, he's here with Eliezer. he says to, does anybody see what I see? Do you see what I see? And Eliezer says, I don't see it. I don't see anything, just a mountain. And Yishmael says, I don't see anything. And Yitzchak says, what don't you see? There's the Shekhinah. There's the cloud of Hashem. Kasher ha'anam, kasher al-ahar. Comes Avraham Avinu and he says to the Vayomer al shtei na'arav asher itai shvu lachem pai ima chamor. You stay here with the chamor. Kemo shechamor eino raya gam atem einam raya. That's the lesson he said. Sharp. Just like the chamor doesn't see, you don't see either. Va'ani v'hanar imi and Yitzchak. We're going. Meaning, even though Hashem said to him that Yitzchak is the korban of the Akedah, he had a suffix that maybe it should be, he still had a question, maybe it should be my son Yishmael, and maybe it should be Eliezer, and that's why Hashem actually told him at the beginning, Kach es bincha es yechidcha asher ahavta es Yitzchak, because a lot of these categories, the Gemara says, could have fit everybody until you get to the word Yitzchak. He needed his own confirmation that Yitzchak's going up to this mountain with me, not Eliezer, and not Yishmael. Two people that wanted to be the Yoresh of Avraham. Yishmael, ad hayom hazeh. Till today. They feel that they're why Yitzchak? Why not Yishmael? So until today, Yishmael is busy trying to be the son of Avraham and trying to do the tikkun that we're supposed to do. Who's going to do this tikkun? Here's the interesting thing, that Avraham Avinu, on the one hand, knew that he's going up to this mountain to what he thought was to kill his son. At the same time, this is like a dichotomy, at the same time he knew that the one that he has to take up to this mountain was the one who was going to be his progeny, the one who was going to be the one that was taking over and continuing. So, he's carrying two things here. But even as he's walking to the Akedah, he's thinking to himself, maybe Eliezer. So Eliezer again becomes extremely prominent in the life of the son of Nimrod, this Melech. So let me show you something about...
But when Hashem said, Kach es bincha es Yitzchak, was that...
Asher ahavta es Yitzchak.
But was that before he set out with the two?
No, that's when he told them to set out. But he didn't tell them what to do. Who to shecht. Just take Yitzchak v'haleyu.
Hashem said that pasuk. Then he set out with them, and he still tested the waters to see if it really was. Even though Hashem said Yitzchak, he still needed to test the waters.
Well, we see this over and over again with Avraham. That's what I said to you. He said 3 times you're going to have children, but he didn't. But he says on the 4th time. See, there's so much to say here, and I'm going back and forth. But I'm sure you're all.
Are we trying to say that Yitzchak had a little problem with Emunah?
No. I'm trying to say this. Right now, this is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that when Hashem promised all the 3 promises that Hashem made to Avraham, that he's going to have children and he's going to have the land, they all could have been interpreted, that's all I'm saying, as Eliezer. And that's why it's not that he didn't believe Hashem. It's that this was the first time that Hashem told him that it's going to come from you. He didn't say that. He said, Zaracha. Zaracha, and this I'll go back to the Akedah in a second, Zaracha, your children, could mean your philosophical children. And Eliezer saw himself in this position as an extremely qualified tikkun, as he was from Canaan, and Avraham Avinu was insisting, no, you're an Arur. I love you, you're a wonderful person, you're a great ambassador, you're a great army person, everything is wonderful. You take all my teachings, you teach them to everybody else, but you are from Canaan. Since you're from Canaan, you can't be my progenitor. Is that the right word?
Progenitor.
Pronouncing it is a difference if I get the right word. It's significant. It's significant, I think. Maybe this is just my drush, but when Hashem promised him children earlier, he said that your children should be kafir ha'aretz. They'll be like the dust of the land. When he told them that it's going to come from you, He says they're going to be like the stars in the sky. It's a different kind of a bracha. Upper Aretz, like the dust of the land, means they're everywhere. That's one possibility. Upper Aretz, they're just like everywhere. They're and the other one is Kikof Hashemayim. I'm just, which is better? Stars sound much more romantic, yeah.
Lighting the world.
Yeah. They're also out of reach. Reach for a star, but like you're never going to get it. The stars are the symbol of that which is out of reach. Here's another argument for Eliezer, Eved Avraham. I'm of the earth. I'm down to earth. Hashem said, "Ka'afar ha'aretz." He said that your children are going to be ka'afar ha'aretz. Ka'afar ha'aretz means that not just that there's a lot of it. It's not just numbers. But ka'afar ha'aretz means that, like from a Kabbalistic point of view, it's Isarusa de l'Sapta. And stars are Isarusa de l'Ela. From that point of view, stars, okay, what do we get from stars? I mean, they're up there, they're pretty. Maybe they even have some. So the first bracha could be, Eliezer said, maybe I could fit into this bracha. Ka'afar ha'aretz. More so than somebody like Yitzchak who's so esoteric and so ethereal and like what you're looking for in terms of tikkun olam. I'm the man. That's what Eliezer said. Let me just show you something interesting. Let's move ahead to Periscope Dalet, where we learn about the shidduch. Another interesting point. I have to wind down and I'm just getting started. There's something interesting. Periscope Dalet is the parak of the shidduch. Avraham Zokein ba bayamim ba'Hashem berech es Avraham b'kol. Avraham Avinu was old. He had everything. Vayomer Avraham el Abdo, which of course was Eliezer Eved Avraham, Zekan Beisai, who was, here's a new title, El Abdo Eliezer Zekan Beisai. Not because he was Zokein, say Chazal, but because he was Ein Zokein El Amisha Kanachach. He was a brilliant ambassador of Avraham Avinu. So he says to Abda, again, he wasn't pouring coffee. Hamoshel, look at the passage here, this description of Eliezer. Hamoshel b'chol asher lo. He took care of everything for Avraham Avinu. This Eliezer took care of everything. He calls him over and he says to him, Simno yotcha tachas yireiti. You're going to have to swear to me right now. You're going to have to swear to me right now in the name of Hashem, who's Elokei Hashem, Elokei Haaretz, which both of them believed in very, very strongly. Lo tikach isho livni mibnos haKenani. I don't want you to take a girl from the Canaanim. Who was that? Him. He was the Bnos haKenani, his daughter. Asher anoichi yoshev b'kirbo ki al artzi v'malalati telu. Go back to Haran. Go back to Mesopotamia. Over there, you go back to my family, and that's where you take the shidduch from. Now, and then he says, here's your pasuk. V'yomer lo v'eved. So the Eved says to him, Ulai lo sove ha'isha lo lechaz hacharai. Elor, what if she doesn't want to come back to Eretz Yisrael? If she lives there, she doesn't want to go to Eretz Yisrael. Common. So should I just, what do I do then? Do not leave my son there. That's not your instructions. Hashem that took me all the way from Beis Avi, which was where Ur Kasdim, and then from Ur Kasdim to Haran, and then from Haran to Eretz Yisrael. That same Malach will bring my son back here also. That's what he tells him. Asher lokachani beisavim me'eretz melati v'asher diber li v'asher nishba li lemar l'zaracha eten es haaretz hazois. He who promised me, he says to Eliezer, that this land is going to go to your children, you're going to bring him back. What was Eliezer thinking? I'll keep him there. I'll come back. I'll come back. You still have me. Bring my son back. Because he said, L'zarecha. And now he has a definition of it means Mimayech Yitzayu. Someone is going to come from you biologically. Hu yishlach malacha lefanecha v'lakachta ishti isha livni misham. What I sort of point out that Eliezer is never called by his name. He's either called in this parasha Chayisara, either he's called Eved Avram or he's called an Ish. Ha-Ish. If you look through the Chumash over and over again, he's referred to as Ha-Ish because he was such a chashuv person. I mean, if you imagine that he came into the house of Besuel and he's looking for a shidduch, this was like, you know, like the President of the United States, or more chashuv. This is that's also fun. It's like the President of the United States. He came not just bearing gifts. We're thinking of him as some like Arab slave coming in with a bunch of camels. This was a very chashuv person, and Rashi says that immediately they saw him and they were like taken. Whoa, this is like something very special. He's coming and he's looking for Rivka, right? He's an Ish, so she calls him just. Just look at the psukim here for a moment. Take a look at Chaf Daled, Pasuk Chaf Aleph, or earlier Chaf Chaf. Vatamaher Vatan Kado, he sees Rivka by the well. We all know the story. Alashokas Vataretz Od Alaber Lisho. She's running. She's doing chesed. Vatisha V'Chavalo V'Ha'ish Mishtoy Loi. V'Ha'ish Mishtoy Loi. The translation is, the man was astonished. The man. He switched into the man. And if you look through the psukim, all through the story, they called him, when she went, she told her father about him, she said, there's a man here. It's like Ha'ish, this Ish is here. Ish is like Ha'ish Moshe, Gadol Ma'od, Beretz Mitzrayim. Ish means Ishiyut. Ish means a very, very important person. And she told them about the Ish. They went to the Ish, back to the Ish. Just read the psukim. We don't have time. At the end, when he finally meets, let's see, where's the pasuk here? Pasuk Lamed Daled. He meets the family. Lamed Beis. Vayavo Ha'ish Habaisa. They take care of him, they bring him into the house. They gave him food. He says, no, I'm not eating. So they treated him like a prince because he was an Ish. An Ish is a type of a prince. And they treated him with, why? So just let's stop here for a second. Why? This was Og Melech HaBashan. This was the son of Nimrod. This was the ambassador of Avraham Avinu. This was a very chashuv person, Ish. What does he say? I have to say my piece, he says. Vayomer, and he says in Pasuk Lamed Daled, let's get one thing straight. Eved Avraham Anochi. That's his statement. Stop calling me Ish. Stop Ishing me. Yes, I'm a very chashuv person. I'm a very wealthy person. I won wars. I'm a famous person. You read about me in the newspaper. I just want you to know one thing. What my title in life is Eved Avram Anochi. So you ask, why lower him to an Eved? He himself was trying to bring out this point. This is his opening statement with the shidduch. You have to understand that in this case, I didn't make it. If this shidduch is the right shidduch, then I'm just the Eved. I could have become the prince. I could have become the heir of Avraham Avinu, and I thought maybe my daughter can marry it. So all this is not working out. Eved Avram Anochi. So this is Eliezer. Now I just want to say this, and I hope to pick up next week. Eliezer has a whole story here. Avraham Avinu does not want Eliezer. I believe what we will learn is that Eliezer does not get lost in history. This is where I want to go. As does Lot. Last week we learned that Lot was in Sodom, and from Lot, as everybody knows, came out David HaMelech. Clear. Lot had two daughters. His two daughters had Ammon and Moab. From Ammon and Moab came Rus and Naomi. From Rus and Naomi came David HaMelech. From David HaMelech comes the Mashiach. Eliezer has a similar line, which I want to learn, but I don't want to do it fast. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, Eliezer, we said, where the Torah says in Lech Lecha, take that Avraham Avinu took his 318 chanicha. So the Gemara says he only took one, really, just Eliezer, because his name is Gematria 318. So here, let's work out this. Eliezer is 318, and Lot is 45. So you take 318 and 345, what do you get? Quick? 363, I have it written down. 363 is HaMoshiach. Yeah. 363. It's a combination of, and this was Abraham's battle. The combination, I need Lot, but I'm pushing Lot to stone. I need Eliezer, but I'm not letting Eliezer come into my family. But the two of them together, Ammon, Moab, stuff, is going to equal HaMashiach. 363. It's clear. This is the Zohar. By Gematria, I'm not the mathematical genius. Before the Zohar, that Eliezer and Lot together are Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef. Because Eliezer, which is what I want to go over with you, Eliezer ends up being the spiritual and possible even genetical father of Yosef's children. Because if what we're going to do is we're going to trace, to spill the beans here, the Ashes Yosef was who? Potiphar. Potiphar was a clear nechda of Eliezer, Eved Avraham. And there's two levels of Mashiach. There's a Mashiach which comes from Yosef, and there's a Mashiach that comes from David HaMelech, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. It's Eliezer and Lot, that's the whole thing. And Avraham Avinu that's us, Avraham Avinu is us, are almost on the side. Ben Gay, the Kupa Shel Shratzim. It's so interesting that it's just so interesting that the whole, you see, because the whole tikkun, as you say, has to come from taking Canaan and be misakin it, like Shimon Peres said. It all has to come from it, but not yet. Avraham Avinu says yes, but not yet. It's going to come from Eliezer, and it's going to come from Lot, but in the meantime, they need to be pushed away. It's not time yet. So from the beginnings, as the shiurim are called, we're going to see the ends very, very clearly as to how everything is going to come. But now we've discovered Lot and we've discovered Eliezer, and we know together they're HaMashiach, so now we have to discover how that's going to work. Thank you very much.